You mentioned Paul Twitchell and the foundation that he laid. The new presentation is continuing from where Paul Twitchell left off. And it is a fact that anyone who started with the foundation that Paul Twitchell built and has an open mind and is willing to take the risk will make a smooth transition to the new presentation, I think. I have found that an understanding of the past places one squarely in the new nowness of the new man, as the past is rejuvenated in the present. With this in mind, I want to surmise that many new friends may have their feet dangling in the air because they don't have this foundation, this understanding of what went before. And this is witnessed in how people may answer questions asked by some newcomers who want to do a little bit of chewing on some things before moving on. And of course, many would be frustrated with the answers they get. And some of the typical answers are some of the stock answers I have come across. Sing the new song and get your own answers on the real site. When the answers come to them, when they even after singing the new song, they may not recognize them, and so there are many more questions that follow. So I think making a selection of some of Paul Twitchell's works for people to read, to know what obtained in the past, in order to fully understand the present, would go a long way to help. So what do you think about this, Duane?
Everything that we've experienced here or anywhere is a reference. So, yeah, there's no pat answer. There's no, you might say, right answer for people. I understand. Many times when I first talk to people, I ask them straight out, what is it that you want? You know, again, always putting it back to them, because they're thinking a certain way. People have been taught to think and react a certain way. And they many times don't see this. They're thinking that, well, I want this too, or I want that too. Or if they're in a restaurant, it's like, okay, I'll have what they're having, and not even know what it is, as an example. So I usually put the question, if they have questions, I ask them, what is it that you want? And then from there, I listen to what they're saying. And as an example, a person can say, well, I want freedom. I want to be free. And then I might ask something like, okay, well, how do you see this for yourself? How do you see accomplishing this? You see? This is where you're being very real with people. In the meantime, yes, we have pat answers out there. We have certain answers. Sing the new you, read the new books. Of course. It's like anything. It's like a teacher in school. You know, the student wants the answer, but it's like, hey, study. You got the books there, study. You know, that's what the teacher will say. And sometimes you answer questions. And, you know, it's a little different with everybody. But what Paul created, just imagine it like a building, okay? Because it's an idea, and a building is an idea. All these buildings you see, they're really formed ideas out of the thought process, out of the imagination, from your real awareness. And it's coming down just like a piece of clay, or just like building sandcastles. It's all formed. So see it like a building, but when the time was up, when the business of that business was done, the building was closed, and the owners drove off. And they drove somewhere else to start a new business. And that's like the boys. The only thing that made what Paul presented real was the boys backing it. They agreed that they would back it. Otherwise, it would have just been lip service like everything else. So see it like that's the old building, and the boys have driven off. Now they're in a new position. And so, they advertise where the new location is, but people are still going to the old building, standing around, wondering if the business is going to open again or what's going to happen, etc. And, they've got to see you might say, the signposts along the way where the new business is started. And that's us, the new presentation. And so a lot of them aren't paying attention. So, you can refer to Paul's writings and whatever, but, and you can refer to anything. I refer to many things as ideas, but I don't linger there too long because of how the personal self is. For the most part, look at society. Just, if you want to understand things better, just sit back and overview the social consciousness and what it agrees to. And I work off that too. I overview it. I look back. I look over what it is constantly agreeing to. And I take it from there, and I see insights come to where I say this or I say that, and there's a basic overall decision, but it fluctuates here and there. Like the stock market, it fluctuates. And so one day you buy this stock, next day you sell it, you buy another stock. It's kind of like that. It's that fluctuation. And to see that. And so, for the most part, most people are looking for comfort. They really are. They're looking for something that, it's like buying a car. Oh, I want this car to last forever, even longer than me. Which there's really no such thing as, but it's a nice idea. And so, again, most people are looking for comfort, to be comfortable somewhere. They're looking for the nice house. They're looking for their nice sofa. They're looking for the best bed because they have money. They can buy the best, the so-called best. And why would they buy the so-called best bed? Because they want comfort. They want to just lay in that bed and sleep and forget everything. Okay, that's the choice. Is that what you want to do? I don't look for comfort myself. I look for what's real and makes sense overall. And yes, at times we want to be comfortable. We want to be warm. We want to be many things. Almost every night after Ava goes around 2 a.m., I go out for a walk for about an hour. It's freezing out there. No matter what I put on, it's freezing. But it's okay. I like to do that. I like to be alone at times. And that's what I like about going out surfing, because I'm off the land, etc. I take these few moments for myself, etc. And so I look for things to be okay, just to get by, but I don't look for the comfort. But this is what the world's looking for. And it's not real. Ask Chris when he went through boot camp. There's no such idea to look for, because it's always activity, it's always pushing forward, because the end result is about survival on this world. And those that are comfortable, just like a mouse in its hole, all someone has to do is turn on the hose and the mouse drowns. Okay, so much for comfort. And that's really what it is. But we're taught this comfort. We're marketed this comfort, and people accept it to where they've become obsessed druggies on it. They become addicted to comfort, and this is where they chase money, and it's all a setup. Chase money, get money, and then buy the things you want to be comfortable, And then the heck with everything else, even really the heck with yourself. You place yourself in this comfort zone, and then eventually, guess what? You can't get out. And when you're confronted, eventually, when you've created something that the world controllers want and they confront you, well, you're afraid. And then what do? You usually give in. And we see it all over. People are bought off because of their comfort level is really what it is, isn't it? Yeah, they want to be comfortable. That's why the politicians, when they get up there and they have their position and they're recognized, kind of like in high school when we wanted friends. We wanted to be liked. And many times it was hard making friends, or we were the oddball, or we wore glasses, or we had buck teeth, or whatever. And we'd go home and cry to our moms, oh, gee, nobody likes me. See, we're looking to be liked. But as time goes on and the body transforms and the appearance of things, etc., all of a sudden, now we're the most handsome or cutest person on the block, and we can influence, others. And we're looking for that comfort zone to do that and continue that on, and in so many different ways. And when we're confronted with that, it disturbs us. And that's the personal self. It's very fragile, even though it seems really tough and strong and whatever. It's not. None of it is. We're all fragile here like flies. And so, yeah, it's a huge challenge. And people, yes, that's what they look for many times in the beginning with us, is they look for that comfort zone. But no, this is the real adventure. You're facing the unknown, and that becomes scary because people, to really see it, they have to, you might say, step out of their comfort zone. And very few are willing to do that, because all of a sudden it's like, wow, if I even read this, what will people think? You see? And even though they may not know it, it's like it's still the personal self goes in on itself. So yes, to wake up to the whole of life for what it is, and it is not the new presentation. The new presentation is a front for people to see something with their literal senses. But the reality is unseen, which it refers to. But you look at all the fronts in the world, the created fronts, what do they refer to? That becomes the difference. And most of them are political. Even the religious, that's all political. The religions were created from the political system. And so you look at the intent, and where does it point to? And it just does sound so good, the holy this and the holy that, and God loves you and all these things. But it all points to the dark side, etc. We know that. So yeah, the challenge to bring this out and to make sense of it, well, all we can do is present it and see the end result and see who steps up. And the boys know. They will bring them along. They will. People will show up, which they are, and they will give them a chance. So the perfect answer, but there's going to be basic answers, because as more people show up, we don't have time to talk to each one, but that's where each, all of you and others step up and do your part also. But the end result is, yes, we are, free beings of real light. We really are. We are already that. And to recognize that, that is huge, and it's scary to the personal self, because the personal self knows that if it continues on with this, that it will soon be gone. There won't be a personal self anymore. So yeah, this is it's an interesting position of choice that each one of us make.
I know someone whose head, the top of the head still has that aperture that we have like a child, and you find it pulsating. So for this person, that spot still pulsates, like that of a child. And he has very weird dreams of journeys to the other worlds. And what can you say about this abnormality where the opening at the top of the head, which is actually the seat of the crown chakra, is still open as an adult?
Well, all I can say is just like how each of us look or how tall or short we are, we're all different, and things happen accordingly, again, through the choices that we have made, and we become the body types, etc., because of the choices we've made or what we choose. You know, it's like a new car. We go to the dealers and we decide what we want next and the functions of that car, or we want the regular car where it has roll-up windows, not electric windows, and we just want to put it in drive and drive it. We don't care about all the bells and whistles. And so these are experiences, and a lot of people have out-of-the-body experiences. Eventually you get past all that too. But at a certain point, people are having these things. And to the world, to the literalized world, this becomes a big deal. In Paul's time, there was a gal, and she was from Venus, and she's written books, and she's still around. And she's very popular because she's supposedly from Venus, which, whatever, if she is or not, whatever, it's a cool idea to work off of, and she does very well financially and in her lifestyle, and she's very popular and very loving and all these things. That's great. But it's still about Venus. And so again, everybody has their experiences. They seem far out. But what does it have to do with the isness life is? That's something else altogether. But we do go through this process of these things. And just like when we were in the corporation, Charles, yeah, what was Rebazar referring to at that time? Because he was showing Paul, what to present, and that was, the spiritual eye. Where in yoga they go through the different chakras, they massage each chakra or whatever they do with their techniques. And Rebazar talked about the spiritual eye and the crown chakra, mainly the spiritual eye, because that became easy. Because what did Paul call it? The mind's eye, didn't he? You see? The seat of soul. That's what he referred it to as, right? And so again, there's the definition right there. It's not your real awareness. It's the mind's eye. And he referred to that all the time. And that was the first part. That was the first part to take off on. And so what do the members of the corporation still do? They're still focusing on the Tishra Till, the third eye, or whatever you want to call it, okay? And what does that equal? It in itself, the boys aren't backing anything there. The life isn't backing it. So it's just a gland in the body, like the thyroid gland, the pineal gland, and all these things. They're just, it's come down to a physical whatever, because life is no longer recognizing it. So, respectfully, everybody has their experiences, and it's fine. But these experiences, the whole idea of anyone getting any experience from the boys or the real side or life itself, is to eventually to wake up to recognize the whole of life, not just to jump around up and down on your bed thinking that, oh, gee, I had this experience, with Rebazar, and he flew me to this far out city and blah, 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 and that's fine. That's all good, because that inspires others. So those are steps. But there's a bigger step. And eventually, when people get tired of that, many people actually get tired of that. They really do. My relationship of 30 years while I was still living with my wife and whatever, this individual, it's in book 2, Heather, she got tired of that. And after a while, it became nothing. And so that's a decision she made. So she was to have the opportunity to, might say, get past those experiences. But in the book, I specified when we went and started to go into the 7th level, she didn't want to do it. Because she didn't want to leave the personal self behind. And so it becomes very interesting, doesn't it? So yes, respectfully, we need these experiences, like we need anything, like we need our parents there to help raise us to where we can eventually, we're on our own and we make our own decisions, we make our own life, right or wrong, whatever our life becomes. And the same is with this. The boys can only, the real guides can only, bring us to a certain point. And then we must decide the rest. We must decide to see it and take the risk. And it's a lot to go through because of the personal self. It resists, and I see it myself in the consciousness here. Constant influence of things, constantly, because it's in it. You become more aware, you constantly see this. And this is just how it is. So for me, it just motivates me to continue to focus on what's real. So it's a very interesting situation that we all go through here. But this is how it is. There's no sorting it out. There's no figuring it out. It is what it is. And even in the literal sense, 2 + 2 can equal 4. But realistically, it doesn't equal anything. These are just mind games. But we do this so that we have some kind of relationship in the personal sense that we can relate to and have a comparison to. That becomes real. But realistically, when you see that 2 + 2 is more than just 4, okay, then you're on your way when you're ready to take the risk to see what else there is, instead of just working off old experiences and saying, I did this and I did that, and these people think this way and that way. See, you're framing things. You're not stepping forward and taking the risk. You're convincing yourself of what? Ideas that have been created. That's all they are. They're just created ideas. They can be a reference. But if you make them a reality, then they're boxes. That's all they are. You're just putting your head in a box. And that's it. So getting back to those references that Paul made and all these things with the chakras and that, yeah, they do refer to certain positions in creation only. And they can be workable. But overall, as you focus on your real awareness, everything comes together. But to do that, again, most people, they are afraid, they're reluctant. They will stick with their literal senses, and they will just go off and look for some other path or whatever, just like the Russian. All of a sudden, I saw the end of his speech, and he said something like, well, I'm looking for real freedom. Can anybody help me? So by that very phrase that he made, he's saying that, he's looking for others to do it for him. It ain't going to happen. And now he's gone back to religion or, whatever the idea is. I won't mention it, but again, this is what usually happens. A person becomes so afraid that they become desperate until they face their fears. And so they start to surface. As you go through this, these things start to surface. And just like doing a cleansing diet, everything starts to surface. And all of a sudden, many people will think, well, this is not cleansing, I'm dying here. Well, I did fasting and all these things. I did fine through it. I was fine. It was just kind of like, okay, everything was okay. I just did it, and I did it very fast, and it was all okay. I did it for years. And no real aberrations. Some people really go through it because they've got a lot of things that they've taken in. And the same with the mind and the emotions of people. These are huge areas, huge, endless areas. And then plus you throw the subconscious in there. Whoa, you got a lot. And so on the surface world, people think a particular way. So through all that they've gone through, they come to some path and they go, well, okay, well, on this path, I focus on the spiritual eye and everything will be fine. Well, it won't be. It's just another little part in creation. All creation is the same, higher, lower, whatever. It's all actually the same. It's just how you see it. But we use these ideas of higher and lower, better, dark, bad, etherical, angelic, all these things. You know, the interesting thing about creation, when you look at the 6 levels, you know, it's interesting how Paul, you know, put out the God rules chart and showed the levels. Well, when I came into this, my time, I saw it, and the levels have changed because I decided it. And the boys backed it because they really have. And it's interesting to note that here we are in the physical sense, which is rock bottom, and we're in black space. And then there's the 6th level, which Paul just called the border. But I made it the 6th level because there is a reference there to what we're experiencing here that's very vital. And who will recognize it? And there's a blackness there also, isn't there? That darkness is very important to the recognition of the all is. That's why we're so-called at the bottom, and the border is also black. And it is the 6th level. And so again, we're in a literal world of challenge. It's always the challenge. It's the real adventure of the challenge that always takes place here. And those who have the courage to step up and take it on, no matter what comes at them, you know, it's not really that hard to make sense of things, even though there are so many things that sound good. But it's not. It's like the air we breathe. Simply make sense of it and take the risk to do something and see if you can do it, but at least decide. Or you let others decide for you. Yeah. So again, these things are, you know, everybody has their experience, and it's fine. But the is what it is, like the sun shining. Everybody can have any kind of experience in creation they want. Compare it to the sun shining. Is there a difference? Yes, there is. There's a huge difference.